the Moral Intelligence Masterclass, how to boost performance and leadership success. Welcome to the Fresh Thinking School of Leadership. What is moral intelligence? How does moral intelligence differ from emotional intelligence? The purpose of this masterclass is to share with you the concept of moral intelligence. The masterclass is inspired by the book written by Doug Lennick and Fred. Doug and Fred are the originators of the term moral intelligence. You will learn the following from the Moral Intelligence Masterclass. The definition of moral intelligence. The four critical pillars of moral intelligence. How to put your moral development plan into practice. The importance of moral intelligence in society and how moral intelligence can make a difference in the world. What is moral intelligence? Why does it matter? What are the consequences of not paying attention to moral intelligence? Moral intelligence is new to the playing field, just as emotional and cognitive intelligence differ. Moral intelligence is another distinct intelligence. Moral intelligence is your mental capacity to determine how universal principles, like those embodied by the Golden Rule, should be applied to your values, goals, and actions. Humans are hardwired to be moral, but often stray from that path. Within each of us are the values and basis for your moral compass. Therefore, you should be paying more attention to your moral compass than you do. However, there are few issues with a more significant impact on life in and out of organizations today than that of moral action. The fundamental challenge of moral intelligence is not knowing right from wrong, but doing versus knowing. Research focusing on moral intelligence agrees that this characteristic is ability-based rather than trait-based. Therefore, moral intelligence is a skill that can be further developed with practice. Moral intelligence is considered a distinct form of intelligence, independent of both emotional and cognitive intelligence. Moral intelligence is the capacity to understand right from wrong and to behave based on the value believed to be correct, similar to the notion of moral competence. In the face of accelerating turbulence and change, business leaders and policymakers need new ways of thinking to sustain performance and growth. For example, moral intelligence is new to the playing field, but just as emotional intelligence and cognitive intelligence differ, moral intelligence is another distinct intelligence. Moral intelligence that makes the difference. Moral intelligence is the capacity to know right from wrong and to behave based on the value that is believed to be correct. This characteristic is ability-based, can be further developed with practice. For example, one moral intelligence model included learning about integrity, responsibility, compassion, and forgiveness. To outpace your competition, you need to cultivate different kinds of intelligence you call differentiating competencies. Moral intelligence and emotional intelligence are two types of intelligence that are difficult for your competition to copy. Moral imagination in ethics is the presumed mental capacity to create or use ideas, images, and metaphors not derived from moral principles or immediate observation to discern moral truths or to develop moral responses. Some defenders of the idea also urge that ethical concepts are best apprehended through metaphorical or literary frameworks because they are embedded in history, narrative, and circumstances. Moral imagination means envisioning the full range of possibilities in particular situations to solve an ethical challenge. Acting morally often requires more than just strength of character. Moral action requires empathy and the awareness to discern what is morally relevant in a given situation. Moral intelligence is not just crucial to effective leadership, it is the central intelligence for all human beings. Why? Moral intelligence directs your other forms of intelligence to do something worthwhile. Moral intelligence gives your life purpose. Without moral intelligence, you will be able to do things and experience events, but they will lack meaning. Without moral intelligence, you won't know why you do what you do, or even what differentiates your existence makes in the grand cosmic scheme of things. Moral intelligence is renewable asset. The more you develop your moral intelligence, the more positive changes you will notice, not only in your work, but in your well-being. Staying true to your moral compass will not eliminate life's inevitable conflicts. Will you sometimes compromise between your beliefs and the demands of your work environment? Your moral positioning system. Think of moral intelligence as a moral positioning system for your life's journey, analogous to the global positioning system used in some cars as a navigational tool. Moral intelligence and business success. Though leaders may attribute their company's success to their commitment to moral principles, their evidence is based only on personal experiences, but there are objective indications that moral intelligence is critical to the financial performance of your business. Moral intelligence is the mental capacity to determine how universal human principles, like those embodied by the Golden Rule, should be applied for sustained personal and organizational success. Moral intelligence and the war for talent. Everyone agrees that talent is a critical corporate asset, regardless of the economy. A company's best employees can walk out of the door at any time. They are much more likely to take their expertise and potential elsewhere if they don't like their workplace ethical or moral tenor. Sometimes this manifests as a reaction to the organization failing to embrace universal human principles. Sometimes the talent walks simply because their immediate supervisor or boss lacks moral intelligence. There are 4 critical pillars of moral intelligence. Number 1, integrity. Number 2, responsibility. Number 3, compassion. Number 4, forgiveness. Let's go through the 4 pillars. The first pillar of moral intelligence is integrity. Integrity is the hallmark of a morally intelligent person. When you act with integrity, you harmonize your behavior to conform to universal human principles. You do what you know is right. You act in line with your principles and beliefs. If you lack integrity, by definition, you lack moral intelligence. Responsibility is another key attribute of a morally intelligent person. Only a person willing to take responsibility for his or her actions and the consequences of those actions will be able to ensure that their actions conform to universal human principles. Compassion is vital because caring about others communicates your respect for others and creates a climate in which others will be compassionate toward us when you need it the most. Forgiveness is a crucial principle because without tolerance for mistakes and the knowledge of your imperfections, you are likely to be rigid, inflexible, and unable to engage with others in ways that promote mutual good. Other researchers characterized emotional intelligence as the ability to perceive, appraise, and express emotion accurately and adaptively. The ability to understand emotion and emotional knowledge, the ability to access and generate feelings when they facilitate thought, and the ability to regulate emotions in ways that assist thought. The revised components become perceiving and expressing emotion, using emotion in cognitive activities, understanding emotions, regulation of emotions. Integrity is the hallmark of a morally intelligent person. When you act with integrity, you harmonize your behavior to conform to universal principles. You do what you know is right. You act in line with your principles and beliefs. If you lack integrity, by definition, you lack moral intelligence. The second pillar of moral intelligence is responsibility. Responsibility is another key attribute of a morally intelligent person. Only a person willing to take responsibility for their actions and the consequences of those actions will be able to ensure that their actions conform to universal human principles. Compassion is vital because caring about others communicates your respect for others and create a climate in which others will be compassionate towards us when we need it the most. Forgiveness is a crucial principle. Without tolerance for mistakes and the knowledge of your imperfections, you are likely to be rigid, inflexible, and are unable to engage with others in ways that promote your mutual good. The third pillar of moral intelligence is compassion. Compassion and forgiveness operate on two levels. First, in how you relate to yourself, and second, in how you relate to others. Since you have yet to meet a person with perfect moral intelligence, putting principles into action requires that when you make inevitable mistakes, when your behavior fails to conform to universal human principles, you need to be able to treat yourself with compassion and forgiveness. For example, suppose you are not gentle and forgiving of yourself. In that case, you will not have the energy to move forward to build your moral capacity. Similarly, to inspire others to enhance their moral intelligence, you must treat others with compassion and forgiveness. Without a moral anchor, leaders can be charismatic and influential in a profoundly destructive way. But as primal leadership emphasizes, genuinely effective leadership is grounded in a shared set of constructive values. Without knowledge of those values, in other words, moral intelligence, the emotional intelligence skills are unlikely or ultimately ineffective in promoting high performance. Moral intelligence is not just crucial to effective leadership, it is the central intelligence for all human beings. Why? Moral intelligence directs the other forms of intelligence to do something worthwhile. Moral intelligence gives your life purpose. Without moral intelligence, you will be able to do things and experience events, but they will lack meaning. Without moral intelligence, you won't know why you do what you do, or even what difference your existence makes in the grand cosmic scheme of things. A renewable asset. The more you develop your moral intelligence, the more positive changes you will notice, not only in your work, but in your well-being. Staying true to your moral compass will not eliminate life's inevitable conflicts. Will you sometimes compromise between your beliefs and demands of your work environment? Yes. Will you make mistakes? Will you sometimes say the wrong thing out of jealousy or greed? Definitely. But staying the moral course will give you singular personal satisfaction and professional rewards. Your moral positioning system. Think of moral intelligence as your moral positioning system for your life's journey, analogous to the global positioning system used in some cars as a navigational tool. The fourth pillar of moral intelligence is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the intentional and voluntary process by which one may initially feel victimized, undergoes a change in feelings and attitude regarding a given offense, and overcomes negative emotions such as resentment and vengeance. Forgiveness is the act of pardoning an offender. In the Bible, the Greek word forgiveness literally means to let go, as when a person does not demand payment for a debt. Jesus Christ, for example, used this comparison when he taught his followers to pray. And I quote, "Forgive us your sins, for you also forgive everyone who is in debt to us." Likewise, in his parable of the unmerited and merciful enslaved, Jesus equated forgiveness with canceling a debt. You forgive others when you let go of resentment and give up any claim to be compensated for the hurt or loss you have suffered. The Bible teaches that unselfish love is the basis for true forgiveness, since love does not keep account of the injury. Forgiveness does not mean pardoning with no valid basis. The Creator does not forgive people guilty of willful, malicious sin and refuses to acknowledge their mistakes, change their ways, and apologize for those they have hurt. Such unrepentant ones become the Creator's enemies. The Creator does not require you to forgive those the Creator has not forgiven. What if you are a victim of cruel mistreatment by someone who refuses to apologize or even admit to what he or she has done? Well, the Bible advises us, and I quote, let go of anger and abandon rage. Psalm 37:8. While not excusing the error, you can refuse to be consumed with anger. Trust that the Creator will bring the person to account. You can also take comfort in knowing that the Creator will bring a time when you will no longer feel the deep pain or hurt that may burden us now. How to forgive someone. Recognize the benefits of forgiving. Remember what forgiveness involves. You are not condoning the wrong or acting as if it never happened. You are simply letting it go. Letting go of anger and resentment can help you to keep calm, improve your health, and increase your happiness. Even more critical, forgiving others is a key to receiving God's forgiveness for your sins. Be empathetic. All of us are imperfect. Just as you appreciate being forgiven, you should likewise forgive the mistakes of others. Be reasonable. When you have a minor cause for complaint, you can apply the Bible's counsel. Continue putting up with one another. Act quickly. Work on forgiving as soon as possible rather than letting your anger fester. Consider these three different levels of responsibility you have for your external communities. The responsibility to do no harm. The responsibility to add the current value. The responsibility to add future value. Watch your wake. What does it mean to watch your wake? Buddhas entering harbors are often greeted by signs saying, watch your wake. Traveling to fast creates lines of turbulence, the wake of the boat that can capsize smaller vessels. It would help if you also watched your wake. You need to understand the potential negative consequences of your presence in the communities where you operate. Some of the most admired corporations worldwide have been slow to acknowledge the catastrophic side effects of their business processes. Give back. What does that mean? In adding to not harming, you are responsible for giving back to your communities in exchange for their varied resources, desirable locations, good employees, attractive living standards, raw materials for manufacturing, customers, and so on. Undoubtedly, you want your business to succeed and you want to do the right thing. The good news about this masterclass is that you are not alone. Many business leaders want to do the right thing, believing doing the right thing leads to organizational and personal success. But like many leaders, you feel profound responsibility for your businesses and your workforce. Your challenge now is to accept an even more significant responsibility. Whether you realize it or not, the future of our planet is in your hands. Why? Because you are part of the most powerful social force today. In the last half century, the corporation has assumed a central role as an iconic institution across the globe. Business is rapidly assuming a role as the most influential force in the lives of the world's 6.7 billion people. We build human and leadership capabilities through actual life experiences. Though experience is the best teacher, you don't have to live what you learn to change. Understand your ideal self, the person you want to be. Recognize your authentic self, your actual strengths and weaknesses in the context of who you want to be. Create the future. Your third level of responsibility is the most challenging to add future value. Accepting responsibility for the future can be difficult in a business environment so attuned to the short term. It is relatively easy to contribute to the month's cause because the need and the benefits are usually obvious. Figuring out how to add future value is less intuitive. Caring about the future impact of your business on the community and the world requires a different mindset. How to put your moral development plan into practice. Moral intelligence is the capacity to know right from wrong and to behave based on the value that is believed to be correct. This characteristic is ability based, can be further developed with practice. For example, one moral intelligence model includes learning about integrity, responsibility, compassion, and forgiveness. Doing what you think is essential requires clearing the road ahead. So it will help if you kept your behavior with your beliefs and goals. First, breaking bad habits. Moral viruses and destructive emotions are major causes of misalignment. Another common cause between goals and behaviors is simple, a matter of bad habits. Changing your behavior so that you do what you need to do to accomplish your goals usually means overcoming the inertia of doing things the usual way. Anyone who has tried to quit smoking or lose 10 kilograms knows that reprogramming behavior is not easy. Developing moral competence usually means you will have to change habits that get in the way of being moral. Second, reward yourself for positive change. The best way to reinforce a new behavior is to reward yourself for doing something new. This does not mean you must sign up for a golf or spa vacation to reward yourself for doing the right thing. It is more like waiting for dessert until you have eaten your piece. So take the pleasures already part of your life and make them contingent on succeeding in the behavior changes that are part of your moral development planning. Third, surround yourself with positive people. Because you are wired for interdependence, you need help from others to do your best. The Boyatzis theory of self-directed learning is the discovery that, and I quote, you need others to identify your ideal self or find your real self, to discover your strengths and gaps, to develop an agenda for the future, and to experiment and practice. Close quote. Everyone needs the support of trustworthy friends and colleagues to help them stay true to their goals. Make sure you establish at least a few relationships with people who will tell you the truth about yourself, even when you might not want to hear it. Find trusted people who know your values and goals and will let you know when you are not living up to them. When you attempt new behavior, let them know what changes you are trying to make and ask them to tell you if they see you falter. Do you need to change? Like any worthwhile activity, living in alignment takes some effort. You might wonder if you need to change. You are, after all, a decent human being with a good track record of career accomplishment. If you are an experienced leader, you may even believe that you already know everything and don't need to learn anything new. If you are a senior leader, it has probably been a long time since you received critical feedback about your leadership skills. So why go to the trouble of trying to enhance your moral competence? Well, developing moral competence is every person's job because there is no standing still regarding human behavior. Resist the urge to think of yourself as a finished product. Don't let anything stand in the way of becoming your ideal self. Instead, invest in activities that build on your strengths and enhance your moral competence. You are in charge of your moral development, but don't think you have to go it alone. Instead, take advantage of personal development resources you might not have previously considered. In summary, here are the 4 pillars of moral intelligence. Common sense steps need to be followed if an individual wants to make a lasting change within oneself. The steps have been identified as the 4 moral intelligence competences. The first one, integrity. Integrity is the ability to stand by an idea. Integrity is doing what is correct and truthful, as you say you would. Living with integrity means not settling for less than what you know you deserve in your relationships, asking for what you want and need from others, speaking your truth even though it might create conflict or tension, behaving in ways that are in harmony with your values, making choices based on what you believe and not what others believe. Number 2, responsibility. The price of greatness is responsibility. Character, the willingness to accept responsibility for one's own life, is the source from which self-respect springs. Responsibility to yourself means refusing to let others do your thinking, talking, and naming for you. It means learning to respect and use your brain and instincts, hence grappling with hard work. Forgiveness, the next one. Mahatma Gandhi once said, and I quote, "The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong," close quote. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. The next one is compassion. Compassion. You are all different. Don't judge. Understand instead. Compassion is the basis of morality. No exercise is better for the heart than reaching down and lifting other people. Only the development of compassion and understanding for others can bring us that tranquility and happiness you all seek. Recognize your human fallibility. Invest the time in active learning where you can benefit from the presenter's expertise and your fellow participants' support. Be on the lookout for seminars on leadership, competencies, moral intelligence, emotional intelligence, ethics, and values. Moral intelligence includes learning about integrity, responsibility, compassion, and forgiveness. Doing what you think is essential requires clearing the road ahead. So you must keep your behavior with your beliefs and goals intact. Yours, Dr. Masasekani Meshackkhosa, Director of Fresh Thinking School of Leadership, the Thinking Futurist. Thank you.